Roll call of members.
Mr. Carmine?
Present.
Mr. Rush?
Here.
Ms. Stryker?
Here.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Here.
Okay. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3, approval and/or correction of the minutes of the reorganizational and the regular meeting held on January 15th, 2018. Do I have a motion?
Watkins.
Second?
Albert.
Discussion? And vote.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
Mr. Carmine?
Yes.
Okay. Item 4A, we have the student showcase. Mr. Funkhauser, it's all yours.
Thanks for inviting us today. I have two students with us, Kelsey Flowers and Brian Collins. Kelsey's been involved in our robotics program for going on 3 years now, and Brian's going to be on our competitive robotics team this year as well, and he's in his second year of program. We have about 30 students that are involved with after-school robotics. Probably won't send that many to contests. It takes a lot of time, so I think we'll probably have somewhere around 8, maybe 10 kids go to contest, which is the second week of April and all that. But so I just want to fire that up. Don't get too excited.
Robotics in the classroom, we do a lot of...
Oh, my God. Sorry.
Yeah. In the classroom, we do a lot of robotics and programming class, and throughout the year, towards, what was it, like, we started in the beginning of this
Second semester.
Second semester. In the beginning of the second semester, we started talking about, like, robotics, and we got to build a robot, and mostly, like, how it works. Now we're moving on to more advanced programs and like how to turn turns and everything. Yeah, a lot of it is like sensor based, and we have to be able to collect data from a sensor, and that will like reflect what the program does.
And learning all this in the classroom ties to our robotics club that we do after schools. And our main competition, our only competition, is the NRC, the National Robotics Challenge, which is held every April, I believe. So we take the things we learn in the classroom onto the floor, and our swimming team has actually won 3 times out of the 4 years that they've went. So these are videos of last year's NRC Sumo Challenge.
Apparently they're protected, huh?
Yeah, apparently you should have shared them with me.
Whoops.
Look, I'm even signed in as me.
Well, they're not that exciting. Our sumo bot pushes another sumo bot out of the arena. So. Since we can't see the videos, there's about 800 robots that come to the NRC every year, and it is an international contest. There's a team, and I can't remember, is it Lithuania? It's a European country that brings 14 or 15 students for the last 3 years to the NRC, and amazing program. They build everything from scratch and haul it all over here and everything. So. But 800 robots, a robot can only enter one contest, so you can't reuse that robot. Kids can take multiple projects. We've been doing mostly competitive game type activities. Sumo bot, they have to push each other out of the ring. There's mazes to go through, all kinds of things. There's a construction contest where you have to explain the engineering. Behind the robot that you build, and Honda has judges that will look at that and rank you. So very, very interesting. If you ever get a chance to go over there, it's at the Marion Coliseum during the day, second weekend of April, I think. Yeah.
Is it a one-day event?
3-day.
It's a 3-day.
It's two full days of contest, and then some contests like sumo and robo hockey, those kind of things. They do a finals on Saturday. So all of the semi-finalists show up on Saturday and compete. And Honda also gives away awards. You know, they pick innovative awards and give schools $500 and you know, that you can use for your team, that kind of stuff. So
Who's the judges?
the judges are mostly Honda engineers. Honda is a huge supporter of this, and they've supported us financially for the last 6 years, I think, something like that as well. So, yeah, good stuff.
Do you as students get much interaction with other students from other schools?
Yeah, normally every activity, like every challenge we have, like I've been a part of Rescue Robot, which is applying robotics into like rescue missions in the real world. And you're always in the groups of like the same competition. So you get to meet a lot of different schools and like learn from each other. It's really fun.
Yeah.
So these are just pictures of last year's. There's Sumo, our Rescue Robot, and MazeBot, which is a lot of based on programming instead of like competition, things like that. And yeah.
Is it all VEX-based or is it?
No, it's not, and that's one of the reasons that we really embrace this contest is because the kids can build things from scratch. Can you go back a slide, Brian? This robot, the Sumo, this is like the third generation of this robot. I'll get out of the projector. That robot is, other than the sensors and the brain and the major electrical components, that robot was completely handmade. The frame is made out of tool steel. It was welded by a parent of one of the kids that was helping. Everything was assembled, and that's what's awesome about the NRC is it's not just putting together a ready-made product. You can, if that's where your skill level's at, or you can take it to the next level.
And another thing we did on robotics is we went to a build a drone workshop. So a select few of us two included went to a workshop where they taught us to build miniature drones for ourselves. And so that was really fun too.
Yeah, there's another slide.
And yeah, these are pictures of us working on it.
Yeah, the drones are just palm-sized little micro drones. We walked away with almost seven working drones. we had a couple little smoke events. The boards had to be, there was soldering involved, and there's little cameras on the front, and they're so small, the motors are sort of delicate. You had to be very careful with it. So our long-range goal is to get some of our students to be accomplished pilots in these nice, safe drones, and then move up a weight class and maybe start some competitive drone flying at the high school.
Very cool.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good luck to you in April.
Yeah, we're about 7 weeks out.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of stuff to do.
Lots of work to do. All right, good. Okay, public participation. We have Rick Smith here, Superintendent, Ohio High Point Career Center. Welcome, Rick.
Well, thank you, Kenton Board of Education, for allowing me just to take a few minutes. It's great to follow students who are working on those skill sets for the next generational workforce. It's what Ohio High Point is trying to do with our partnership here with Kenton City Schools. As you might know, we have the FFA program here. We help out with IT. We have an allied health and nursing and an advanced manufacturing program. 3 of those at the Northwood building. And we have a Project Lead the Way class over at the middle school as well. So we have a great partnership here with our Hardin County partners and the schools that we have in this area. And so Ohio High Point is working hard at getting 21st century skills for 21st century jobs. And part of that process in our evaluation of things is that We decided that looking at our building and our structure, as you guys know, building a new building not long ago, that Ohio High Point's campus is 43 years old. And so for the first time in 40 years, Ohio High Point is going to place a permanent improvement levy on the ballot. We haven't had a levy since 1977, and so this we're going as a 6/10 mil permanent improvement levy, permanent time frame. And let me just explain a few things about that. One of the reasons why we chose a permanent improvement levy was for the fact that we could use it for both construction as well as supply equipment to our ongoing programs and satellites, so that we're constantly upgrading the equipment that we need for industry standard equipment in our satellite programs. We didn't have satellite programs 15 years ago or even 40 years ago when that first levy was passed, and so far Ohio High Point over the last 15 years has invested $25 million into satellite programs across our 14 different school districts and working with them. And so we want to be able to maintain that long term, as well as have money for our mortgage payment, basically to do renovations and expansion of our current campus. One of the things that I hope you've received your invitation for already is to come April 4th to our grand opening of the Dr. Sloan Smart Technology Center. And that's going to be one of our new programs next year. This will be in place of our all boards banquet, which is a little bit different than what we're going to be doing, but we're going to have a ribbon cutting ceremony and appetizers and things for you to go tour. That program is going to be in smart mobile technologies, what you just saw some of your students doing with drones and autonomous vehicles, and be one of the first in the state toward that level, as well as having a manufacturing maintenance program. You guys have a lot of manufacturers in the area. We know they need people to understand the maintenance of equipment. And so the program is designed to put engineers and maintenance people together, the way they work on the floor at many of our local manufacturers. And so solving those problems, doing that as juniors. And then we hope seniors will move on and do some things at TRC, one of the leaders in autonomous vehicles, just 7 miles down the road. And those applied manufacturing students will go on and do some more maintenance type tasks and things that will get them ready for those local things. We're also bringing back HVAC electric next year in the fall. And so if this levy was to pass, we would love to do things where we could expand our other programs, like bringing back plumbing. We know that's a desperate need to the area, and getting back to that. Most of the people in the plumbing field tell me that the average ones are over kind of getting at 48 to 55 years old, and they're worried about the next 10 years. And so how do we get that next generation that can fill those type of positions? As well as bringing programs like business entrepreneurship or cybersecurity. Bringing back HVAC is now more than just doing the mechanical part of HVAC, but there's programming. And there's going to be cybersecurity. People don't understand that as they bring Google and Echoes and all those things into their house to help control their environment and maybe even control that heater, somebody might be able to hold that heater hostage someday and say they won't turn on in the middle of the winter until you pay a ransom. And so that kind of cybersecurity knowledge and things are changing how we train the next generation of students. And so we really feel like going out for this kind of low-cost 6/10 mil, it's $22 per year. That's $1.84 a month on a $100,000 evaluation. So we think for most it's probably about $5 a month of Starbucks kind of coffee, $60 a year for the average homeowner in most of our districts that we serve. And so that will help provide us around $1.6 million that will go toward renovation and expansion, and about $400,000 a year that will go toward our satellite equipment and upgrading and keeping all our satellite equipment to the best standards for the industry. That's about all I have on. Can I have any questions?
Remind me of your area of reach.
Yeah, so
what counties you operate in?
Ohio High Point serves 14 different school districts, 3 here in Hardin County, which is USD, Kenton, and Richmond. Then we have all of Champaign, all of Logan. We have Waynesville, Goshen, and Auglaize, and Marysville and Union. So those 5 major counties have our 14 different school districts. We serve currently around 530 students on campus. With our additional new programs next year, we'll be reaching toward a goal of about 600 by the 2019 school year is what we hope, and that will kind of max out that building space and availability. And then we serve another 3,400 students or so in satellites, and we'll be launching about 5 new satellite programs next year. So that number will also go up with other districts that we're working with.
How much do these satellite, I know what we're doing here, is that vary a lot from district to district where you're working with them in a similar kind of way?
It does. It's customized by district request and by building availability and size of what they can put in. You know, you guys had a great location here in Northwood and was really willing to work. So bringing some of that larger advanced manufacturing equipment or hospital beds or those type of things were easy for us to do in a place like that. So, and we have similar type programs like in the Marysville College, early college, high school would be another example. But then we have smaller districts that, you know, have maybe a CBI program or just an IT program. You know, USB has, for example, an IT program, they have a CBI program and their FFA. So, you know, it just matters to what that building can accommodate and what type of electives and programs they would like for the career tech people to bring in. But then we do a lot with other districts and helping them with grants and stuff that surround career tech as well so they can get students out in placement. You know, you have your community placement program. Many schools have that. So we're doing a lot of internship placements and trying to help people find the businesses and place students in them for that real world trade experience.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it greatly. And
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Reports of the treasurer. 6A, approve the following January 31st reports: cash position, check register, receipt ledger, investment report, journal entries, and budget versus actual. Do I have a motion to accept?
Watkins.
Second?
Carmine.
Discussion.
No surprises. Everything's butting along. So.
Yeah, button along.
Okay. And vote?
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
Mr. Carmine?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes. All right, item 7, superintendent report.
Just a couple of things tonight. I believe the deadline is today, but if you haven't gotten it in, we'll still take Hall of Fame, Alumni Hall of Fame applications. Is it tomorrow? Okay. So it is, if you have anything last minute that you want to put in, we have that application available online. You can go on and just type the information in, or you can bring a hard copy and bring that to the board office. So we're still accepting applications and would love to have recommendations. The other big item for tonight's agenda would be the calendar vote. Every year we allow staff to vote on which calendar they prefer. They're given 2. And 64.9% of our entire staff, that's all your certified teachers, that's all your classified OPSI, that's all your administration, requested that we have calendar B next year. So under item 11B in your agenda where it says option, if you could write B there for me, that would be what I recommend based on the staff's input. I think everything else we'll cover in committee tonight.
All right, item 8 is board committee reports. We'll start off with finance.
Finance Committee met on Friday morning, discussed very different things. First off, Jennifer's working with her administrators to kind of drill down a little more precise on their budgeting process. And this is preparing for the budget that will be established for the new school year, which would, turns over in the summer. We've used a process of kind of looking at what was spent in the past, and we're going to make it a little more proactive with the at the building level, I guess you'd say, for them to actually make a little more detailed budget of the funds that they work with. We're working on adding an additional mental health professional. We have one that works in the district now. Working through, I'm sorry, I didn't say their name.
We, Northwest Health Partners.
Northwest Health Partners, yeah.
Through a grant, they were able to provide one mental health professional for our district. We're looking to have Northwest Health Partners add a second. We have a social worker that works for the district, so that would give us a total of 3 social workers or above that would actually be able to serve our district.
I think because of the timing of our meeting, and we discussed these shootings, and obviously there was another one everybody knows about recently in Florida, and there's different components to the prevention of that, and certainly the mental health or the counseling component is important, and so that's and this isn't a direct response to that issue alone, but obviously that issue kind of a lot of times comes out of those kind of issues with an individual. So that's a component of it.
The advantage is to be able to offer services to our students and our families on campus.
Yeah.
And so that really helps make sure that people can make appointments and that they have resources to be able to get those needs met. So we've been talking for quite a while about how to add another person, but there's significant cost because it's not covered by the grant.
We are in the process, or I want to say we, mainly Jennifer, is in the process of reviewing our ESC relationship together with some of the other superintendents of the county, and they're kind of working through that at this point, but that we'll see where that leads. And the other thing we did talk about, we have an extreme special ed situation, that extreme in the sense of cost, obviously from a finance standpoint, and so just how that affects the district, and that's really something that's not within our control, but it does affect our budget, and we are responsible as a district if their residence is within our district. So sometimes that happens, and so it's a difficult situation for the student, of course, and the family, but also challenging from a finance standpoint to the district. That's all I have.
All right, thanks, Mark. And then next is facilities. I don't think facilities met, so we'll move on to extracurricular. Sam's got a little update for us.
I could give you one update on facility,
Okay.
just real quick, that everything is going really well with the bus garage and the renovations. Our big doors came in, so they're in the process of now measuring those doors and how they'll fit in. We're waiting on some quotes for the actual cutting and doing of those things. And I know they've been working on the concrete work inside of the building and some of the connections of how things will connect with different services like water and electrical and those kinds of things. So some of those renovations that they were doing are going really well.
Coming along, okay. Very good. All right, Sam, extracurricular committee.
The new athletic building, they said they're 6 weeks behind with the project, but progress is still being made on that. On the flooring, they're looking at different options for lining and logos. And Ryan Collins is going to get us a quote for the sound system for the new building.
Okay, very good.
I did happen to just stick my head in that building over the weekend, and it's going to be a very nice facility when it's done. I think there'll be a wide variety of uses for it. It's just wide open space, so that's an exciting thing for students of the district.
Good, good. Okay, Career Center tonight. We appreciate Rick, but Russ Blue is here. He's back. One night only. Russ Blue.
You missed us, didn't you?
I did miss you. I want to give you a little update. Most of my career reports will be through email, like I sent you recently. I sent you our regular board meeting minutes and things for January, so I'll be doing that. Our next meeting is February 28th, so I'll send you updates and things when I get them. Okay. Just to touch a little bit more on the question you had, Mr. Watkins, on our territory for High Point, I'd like to relate to it that it's actually bigger than the state of Rhode Island. So it does cover the 14 schools and 3 CSC, so 17 board members on that board. So we get a lot done. Well, I just wanted to announce that we did have several students on the superintendent's roll and the honor roll last semester from Kenton. And 14 High Point Kenton Allied health and nursing students traveled to Toledo and competed in the Health Occupation Students of America Northwest Regional. And several of them were advancing to the second round. Mercedes Mendenhall, Peyton Flint, Caitlin Tudor, and Cassie Collins advanced to the HOSA state competition in April. They combined, they took second place out of 13 teams in the health science knowledge competition, so we're pretty proud of that. Yeah, I don't know if it was in the Kent paper. It was, yes. I guess I need to read it, don't I? The FFA has finished up a busy couple of months with their programs, and the big one was their annual fruit sale. And they're gearing up for their starting speaking competition starting tomorrow. And for the new board members, High Point does have a vast course offering for Kenton students on the main campus and our satellite programs at the Northwood building. And just a brief idea on the courses offered, Dr. Smith touched on a couple of them, but we do have classes at the Kenton Middle School on pre-engineering technology. And at the high school, we have agribusiness and production systems and health science technology, which goes down to our freshman classes. And at the Northwood side, obviously, advanced manufacturing, allied health and nursing, and information technology, which I believe Mr. Collins teaches that course, and Deb Purcell teaches the nursing and Art Sprague teaches the manufacturing. Our current enrollment with High Point for Kenton City Schools, at the main campus we have 24. It's down this year. We have averaged in the low 40s in years past, but I think the satellite program has taken some of those, they're staying here in town. But we do have 13 juniors and 11 seniors. We have 132 students at the Kenton Middle School and 272 at the high school with the agribusiness and the other programs. And just a reminder again, Dr. Smith talked about the Sloan Technology grand opening April 4th. That is at 5 p.m. at the technology building. So if you can make it down, we'd appreciate it. And with that concludes my report.
All right, Russ.
Any questions?
Just one thing that I wanted to just comment on. Well, since you're up there, you can comment on it too. But, and Dr. Smith alluded to it, but understand that the satellite programs that are on our campus are not offered on the main campus. So we don't compete with main campus. We expand offerings for our students based on community need, based on what business leaders are telling us, based on student interest. So those individual satellite programs are designed specifically based on school and community need. And those look different than if you would take the course at High Point. It would be a slightly different course. We have stakeholder groups that meet to design those curriculums and those programs.
If anybody ever gets a chance, if you guys get a chance to go out and tour that facility, it's amazing what's in there. And Dr. Smith talked about it. There's a lot of equipment that was brought up. High Point supplied.
And I think a couple people just went recently.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
Sam and I went.
It is.
Really great. Machining center that we have is just incredible. I mean, that's used a lot in automotive, so.
And I understand in the near future, we're going to get a sign out front. So.
Yeah. It's coming.
Almost done.
Still looking to name the building, but the sign's coming. Yeah, we can change the sign. We can get that all figured out. It's only been a couple of years.
Thanks, Russ. Appreciate your presentation there. All right, we'll move on to Policy Committee.
Mark, I'll start off with the Policy Committee. We did have a community forum on February 5th at 6 p.m. at the Kenton High School cafeteria. We actually had a really good turnout for attendance. Things went really well. There was a presentation from Great Lakes Bio, who would be conducting the tests. I believe his name was Kyle, is that right?
Yep.
Kyle was there, gave a lot of information, answered a lot of questions. And there was a great conversations at some tables. We got to walk around and talk about some tables, and great comments and good questions, great participation. So with that, I thought that meeting turned out real well.
Yeah, it did. And then we followed that up with a regular Policy Committee meeting on Friday, and regarding the random student drug testing policy. So we're going to work to develop a program and a policy and recommend it for the board to approve at some date, maybe March, maybe April, but we're going to be working on a policy and a program for that, and we want to try to also beef up a little bit of the education for our lower grade levels as well. Try to do some teaching at the lower level to help out as well. So that's something that the policy will be meeting on and trying to develop, and then also on policy coming up in March, we'll have some Neola updates that will be coming. So I think that's all we have from the policy side of things. So Very good. All right. No old business. We'll move on to new business. We have personnel items 10A through 10J. Motion to accept.
Stryker.
Second.
Watkins.
Any discussion? Questions? Okay, vote.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
Mr. Carmine?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Okay. Item 11 is the authorizations and resolutions. We have 11A through 11D, with 11B being the option B on the calendar, as Jennifer spoke of earlier. Do I have a motion to accept?
Carmine.
Second.
Watkins.
Any discussion?
You should have information about the Florida trip for the band. Unfortunately, the way testing is in the district, well, in the state, and the way that calendars fall, our students do miss more than 3 days typically of school to attend that event. It's mostly because of the travel and to get back. So we try to keep that as concise as possible. So they did a really nice job with their proposal, and I think that when they're missing is the appropriate time to miss. And then I think that it only happens about once every 4 years for the program. But just be aware that there would be some absence beyond what we typically would accrue. But I think it's worthwhile for the kids, and it's the best week given all the other requirements from the different events and things kids are involved in. And the other thing that I'll just offer, just so that you know, since we're new together on this, if anyone's uncomfortable with the calendar choice and wants to pull it out and vote on it individually, we could do that. If you're comfortable with the other motions but not comfortable with that one, it could be, you could make a motion to pull it out, and then that way if you didn't want to vote no on everything, or you weren't for the fair calendar, you could do that, just so that you understand your options. If that makes sense.
Do you have any input on those, Jennifer, between the two, or you're promoting
I
B
learned
or
a long
suggesting
time
B?
ago to make 2 calendars I could live with. And I work really close with the curriculum director, and we make sure that both calendars are educationally sound and meet the needs of our students. And I will tell you, it sounds funny what I said, but it was the truth. Originally, we would have committees that would come here, and I would have big tables, and we would design the calendars. And sometimes they would get a little crazy. Sometimes we'd even end up with 3. And then when you try to vote on 3, then that's like an odd percentage, and your stats don't work. And so instead, we use our committee to give input. What do you value? What do you want in a calendar? And just to be honest, a lot of the things that are looked at are the fair. We look at whether or not there's a spring break. Ironically, the percentage of our staff that really wants a spring break versus the fair is significantly smaller. More people want the fair than want spring break. And then Christmas. Christmas is huge because that's kind of our only break that we get without a spring break. So how many days will Christmas be? How will that fall? And other than that, there are contractual things that have to be put in a calendar that we do in focus, and then testing. So the reason that I haven't been comfortable with doing multiple years is that it's hard to judge what test we're going to have to give next year and when those test windows are going to fall, and we want to be in session when those test windows fall. And so there's things like that making a yearly calendar makes more sense. So either calendar I'm completely comfortable with, and I'm most comfortable with supporting the staff and what they want. And it's always close.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we have a motion now to accept all 11 A, B, C, D. If we're good with that, we can vote.
Mr. Carmine?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
Okay. Adjournment is 7:35. Next regular meeting will be March 19th at 7 o'clock. We do have a work session after this. There will be no action taken.
yo girl. When I'm involved with this